From one nuclear regime, let's turn to another. North Korea. The Hermit Kingdom is in the news yet again. This time, for obvious reasons again, an unwarranted missile test. In the early hours of Friday morning, Pyongyang fired an intercontinental ballistic missile. A missile which may have had the range to hit the US mainland. Not making this up. Listen to this.
We analyzed the flight trajectory of the ICBM-class missile that was launched this time, and depending on the warhead and weight of the missile, it had a flying capability of 15,000 kilometers, which means it had enough range to reach United States mainland.
Japan has also released these images. They show the contrail left behind by the missile. It was apparently fired at 10:15 a.m. local time from a military base near Pyongyang. The missile then reached an altitude of 6,100 kilometers and traveled over 1,000 kilometers at a speed of Mach 22. That's around 27,000 kilometers per hour, a scary number. What's worse, the missile landed just 200 kilometers off Japan. Now remember, this comes within Japan's exclusive economic zone. Naturally, the reaction from Japan has been sharp and stinging. It has told Pyongyang that it won't tolerate any more such actions. Listen in.
Today, North Korea has launched a ballistic missile and it is believed to have fallen west of Hokkaido in our country's exclusive economic zone. We naturally lodged a strong protest against North Korea, which has repeated its provocations with unprecedented frequency. I would like to reiterate that we absolutely cannot tolerate this.
South Korea has issued a statement as well. It has condemned its neighbor's actions, calling it a violation of the UNSC resolution and a serious threat to the peace and stability of the Korean peninsula.
Military detected an intercontinental ballistic missile launched into the East Sea from the Sunan area of Pyongyang around 10:15 a.m. The ICBM launched by North Korea is a grave provocation and a serious threat to the peace and stability of the Korean peninsula as well as the international community. And it is a clear violation of the UN Security Council resolution, so we are strongly against this, calling for it to be stopped immediately.
The timing of this incident is crucial. It comes amid the annual APEC meeting, that's the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, an intergovernment economic forum of the 21 economies in the Asia-Pacific region. It is holding a two-day summit in Bangkok with leaders from Canada, Australia and the United States in attendance. US Vice President Kamala Harris, who is representing her country at the summit, held an emergency meeting right after the launch. Present there were the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, among others. They all had to put out official engagements aside and sit down to discuss North Korea's recent provocation. Here's now a quick look at their reactions.
We strongly condemn these actions, and we again call for North Korea to stop further unlawful, destabilizing acts. On behalf of the United States, I reaffirm our ironclad commitment to our Indo-Pacific alliances.
Stand with the world and indeed with our allies in opposing and condemning this action in the strongest possible terms and calling for North Korea to stop this reckless activity.
Thank you. Canada joins our allies in condemning in the strongest terms the continued irresponsible actions of North Korea with multiple missile launches, including the latest one.
These leaders were not alone in condemning North Korea. Surprisingly, they were joined by China as well. Although it didn't directly slam Pyongyang, but it did request the North Korean leadership to maintain peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. A rare yet interesting rebuke of its so-called ally. Listen in.
China pays close attention to the development of the current situation on the Korean peninsula, maintaining peace and stability on the peninsula and preventing the situation from deteriorating and escalating conform to the common interest of the international community.
Now here's the thing. What North Korea did was nothing surprising. It has made a habit of firing missiles every time there's an important summit. Just look at what it did in May this year. This is when Joe Biden visited Japan. Right after he left, North Korea sent 3 ballistic missiles up in the air. All 3 were fired within the space of less than an hour. Then in September, we witnessed a similar provocation, this time during the visit of US Vice President to South Korea. Just as she left the country and flew back home, Pyongyang fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles into the sea. There's a pattern here. 2 months on, there's another eerily similar provocation. So what do we make of this? What is North Korea trying to do? Analysts say it is trying to gain attention. Now, why would it do that? Because Western leaders are occupied with the war in Ukraine. North Korea is trying to get its attention with such acts of defiance. And its efforts are bearing fruit. Look at these images. This is the South Korean Air Force holding guided bomb strike drills. They took place just hours after the missile test. Reports say Japan and the US military also conducted joint military drills. It was a tactical air drill aimed at reaffirming that both countries are ready to respond to any further escalation. But are they really? Look at this graph. Since 2012, North Korea has conducted more than 169 missile tests. 40 of them were conducted just this year. By doing so, North Korea has broken its own record for launches in any given year. So what have America and its allies done about this? Nothing much, besides issuing statements, conducting drills and holding naval exercises. To be fair, they can't do any more than this because the scope of action is quite limited. You see, North Korea is the most isolated country in the world, one which has never played by any rules or paid heed to UN resolutions. But the recent spate of missile tests is alarming. 40 missiles in 1 year is no small number. It indicates a return of Kim Jong-un's brinkmanship, of his unwarranted belligerence against the West. What's he up to? What's he planning? It's hard to tell. But with every missile test, his nukes are inching closer and closer to the borders of America's allies. This time, the missile landed just 200 kilometers of Japan. There's no saying what could happen next. To put it simply, the West and its allies may be one missile test away from a major standoff. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.